Hi everyone, this is Alec from AJ Farms, and today I'm here with a post-vacation garden tour. My mom and I went to Disney for about 10 days, so we're excited to be back and checking out the garden. However, there was some pretty nasty weather that happened while we were gone. It was past our last frost date, so we're like, okay, we're gonna plant everything, and then we got more frost. So needless to say, there's quite a few things that didn't make it. There's some things that did surprisingly well, and there's some things that were thriving. So I have been out in the garden a few days, but it's only been maybe 3 days since we've been back. We have replaced some of the things that we really wanted that didn't make it, and then for other things we started some seeds, and then other things, honestly, I'm surprised did as well as they did. So I wanted to show you what's going on, and we're going to start with my mild pepper bed. So this row right here are my jalapenos, and as you can see, some fared better than others. Some did not fare so well at all, like this one, which is fine. I started some more seeds, so I'll be bringing those out once they're a little bit bigger. I think what I'm going to do at this point is once they start sprouting, I'll probably just take them outside so they can be used to the sunlight instead of an artificial light. Then over on this side, so I split my mild bed between jalapenos and bell peppers. We've got our bell peppers on the left side. Now the ones that have cages around them, I believe, are all bell peppers that we had to buy because we do want to get some. We have a long enough growing season that we could start more seeds now, and I did, but I do still want to get some at that mid to late July period. So for that, we do need to get plants that have been planted or started before now. But as you can see down here, I did have two that I started from seed that survived. These are the I believe they're the Garden Leader Monster. I'll have to double check that name. But it's either that or the Emerald Giant, which I'm doing all green peppers this year because I have no luck whatsoever getting them to change colors. Oh, the airplane is very loud. But I have no luck getting them to change colors, so I tend to not grow the reds and the yellows and everything because they're going to stay green anyway. I'll pick them as green. So I'm going to hop over behind me to the next bed. Right here is one of the brand new beds. Also, the bed I just showed you, the peppers, is a new bed. These feel huge because they're a full 4x8. I can plant so much stuff in here. But this is one of my Dahlia beds. This is the only big one. The other ones are 4x4. So in this first row right here, we have our Cafe au lait, which is one of my favorites. I'm hoping this year they're a little bit more creamy than pink, so we'll see. But we've got we have three. We have a brand new sprout right here. So you have three that have popped up. Next to that, we have the Creme de Cassis. I really hope that's how that's pronounced. And all three of those have popped up. Next, we have Babylon Red, which nothing yet, so hopefully we'll still get something. I know they've been underground, so the frost shouldn't have hurt them. Next, we've got Lavender Perfection, and I just noticed just today we have a sprout. So I'm excited about that. Next, we have Lilac Time, which I believe we're still waiting on. Then we have Sweet Love, which right about there, I believe. Right there. It's kind of hard to find things in the camera. We got a sprout. Then next we have the American Sun right here. And then the one that I am personally the most excited for this year, we have the Eveline. It did get frost damage, which is what that one brown looking shoot is, but as you can see, it's got 3 more shoots that came up to replace that, so I'm happy. We should get some awesome blooms out of this one. And I have space for technically 2 more varieties, so I might put the Blue Boy in here as well. So I'm really hoping the dahlias do well. I want to sell cut flowers this year, and I know dahlias are a good showstopper and should get some pretty good attention at the stand. Next to our dahlias, we have our Cabbage Bed, which was supposed to be cabbage and basil. The cabbage is doing pretty well. I'm not really sure if it's growing. I'm going to fertilize it later. It could be, and I just am not realizing it. The basil did not fare so well. Basil does not like cold temperatures. It prefers, honestly, over 50 is great, but it needs to be over 40 to keep basil pretty happy. Like, it doesn't even like being in the refrigerator. So, needless to say, basil's gone. I've got some Genovese basil that I started from seed, and that I'm hardening off right now. So that will be taking this one's place. I'm not sure if I'll redo the large leaf basil. I honestly kind of just planted it because it looked cool. But I might. Depends on how I'm feeling. But the cabbage is doing pretty well. It's alive, so I'm thinking it's still growing. There are some plants that do look bigger. Now that I'm really looking at them, this one in particular looks like it has a few more leaves, and I see a new one. So it's probably growing just very slowly. But now that we're entering into May, I can't really say what the weather's doing, so it could be fine and grow just well, or it could get eaten and just peter off because it's too hot. We'll see, because we have one day where the temperature can potentially drop back into the 30s, and that is unheard of at this time of year. We usually hit 80s, 90s in May, and it stays above 50 every night, so hopefully it warms up soon. I also apologize if I sound a little bit distracted. There's little lizards running around, and I'm not a huge fan of them. So hopefully they stay on the other side of the garden, or just away from me. But this bed right here, we have our peas and our kale. This is my pride and joy. This had no problems with the cold weather because these are cool weather crops, and they can tolerate frosts, and they did like a champ. The kale at this point is honestly being big enough to harvest. I mean, for 4 people, it's not quite enough because kale cooks down so much, but I don't have to tell anybody else that I got kale. This plant right here is my favorite simply because it's the biggest, and it looks so healthy. And I'm just barely starting to see some bug damage on some of these plants. So now that the weather is warming up, I'm going to have to start spraying them with neem oil. These will probably be spraying with BT because caterpillars are more the issue. And that is an organic measure to kill caterpillars. And I've also been seeing some white flies flying around, so I definitely need to start getting on that before they start laying all their eggs. And no holy kale this year. But the peas are doing really well. Before I left, they were maybe 4 or 5 inches tall, and now some of them are broaching a foot tall. We've got 2 varieties. We've got our tags. We have the sugar snap peas and our Oregon sugar pod peas. Now, I personally am allergic to peas, so I grow these for everybody else because Jay loves them, my parents will eat them. Though they prefer, like, when they get really big and then you can get the little peas out of the pod, Jay will eat them as snap peas. So I'll probably harvest them as a mixture in between depending on the weather, because, again, if it bolts up to really high temperatures, these will kind of pewter out before I get anything. But if it stays cool, so I'm hoping it stays cool for these things, but I'm also hoping it heats up because other things need the heat, so we'll see. So right here we've got our first tomato bed. This is our slicing and cherry tomatoes. So this row right here in the back, I should probably be on the other side since the tags are over there. Let me do that. Okay, now I can see the tags. So back here we have the sun gold cherry tomato. It made it. I'm so happy because this was the only one I believe that I had that made it to this size. So it surviving makes me super happy because I like picking these. I won't eat them, but I like to grow them. Next we had to buy a tomato. This is just a red cherry tomato. Our 2 large red cherry tomatoes did not make it, unfortunately, and I do not know if I have more. I have to double check. Next we have the mortgage lifter. This one in the back is a super sweet 100, if I remember correctly. The tag's facing the other way. But this right here and the tomato in front of it are mortgage lifters. They're doing just fine. I did replace one of them, I believe, but they're doing all right. Next we have our beef steak, and I believe all 3 made it. They don't look the best, but the growing tips are fine, so they might get a little stunted, but they're okay. Then next, this was the bodacious. I don't think this one in the middle is going to make it. The stem's kind of bent in a weird way. I did start more. If it comes up, cool. If not, whatever. But that gave me the chance to plant the Parks Whopper Improved tomato. I believe, if I remember correctly, this variety of tomato is what gave me my huge over 1 pound tomato last year. I was so excited. And then a few things we have on the side right here. We've got a lavender plant, which I do have some lavender inside. I started from seed, and it's not quite this size, but it's almost this size. So depending on how you feel about starting things from seeds, lavender is one that's a little bit more difficult, so I will not fault you if you want to buy it from a plant start. But I'll be planting these somewhere, I'm not quite sure where yet, because it is a perennial. It will survive in our area, so I need to find a place where it can just stay and not take up space that I need year after year. Then over here, I was finally able to find some orange habanero peppers, because my seeds suffered from the issue I was having with it was a mess. So I didn't have any to bring outside. I was so sad, but I found some. I should have bought more. I only got 2. but I have 2 orange habanero peppers and 4 red ghost peppers. For whatever reason, the seeds do not like me. So the fact that I was able to find some plant starts, I'm so happy. I plan on making hot sauce with these. It'll be insanely hot because ghost peppers on the Scoville scale, which is how you measure the heat of a pepper, is over 1,000,000. I believe it's about 1.25-ish. I'll have to double check that. But it's hot. Much double as hot as a habanero. Or a little bit more than that, actually. Almost 3 times as hot. But yes, I'm really excited. I'm thinking about maybe keeping 1 plant inside to save for seeds so I can make sure it's isolated, but I could also just net it out here so the bugs and the butterflies don't get to it. So we'll see. I might keep 1 inside. I might just leave them all out here. We'll see. Alrighty, so I was waiting on this area because we had a wasp over here, but I think it flew off, so we're good now. Right here, we have the Scarlet Nantes carrots that I planted in an earlier video. I do need to come through and thin these out, but they're doing very well. I know they're small for almost 2 months old. Actually, almost exactly 2 months old now that I think about it. But once I come in here and thin them out, they will start growing just fine. Then these are some kale transplants that I got just to have some more kale since I lost a few plants. They're doing well. I feel like my kale that I started from seed is actually doing better. I know this plant in the back especially is bigger, but the one plant that I told you I was really proud of is almost just as big, so we will see. But honestly, more kale the better. I do need to come in here and weed it out. As you can see, we've got weeds everywhere. That's kind of the story of my life. I'm working on it, but it is a large space, and you know, just life gets in the way sometimes, but I'm trying to keep on top of it while they're small and a little bit easier to get out. But yes, these are our carrots, and again, not something that I will eat most of the time, but I've discovered that I will eat them in pot stickers, so that's something. And this is just a quick glance since we're over here. These are the Ranunculus plants that I bought from Lowe's, I believe. And yes, they do look sad. It's because while they're perennial to zones 8 through 11, they are cool season plants, so it's getting hot, so they're on their way out. I will leave them in until all the foliage kind of dies back, and then I'll dig up the corms and I'll attempt to save them over the summer, fall, and winter. We'll see how that goes. But I will make a video and hopefully learn along with you because I'm very new to saving corms and bulbs and things, so it will be an experiment for all of us. And then across the PVC piping, way on the other side, we have some cucumber plants. Now we are starting most of our cucumbers from seeds. These plants are just to kind of ensure succession planting since they were started before we planted seeds. Then we'll plant a few rows of seeds, and then we'll wait maybe 2-3 weeks, and then we'll plant some more. And then once these ranunculus right here come out, we will replace them with cucumbers. So it's going to be exciting. I have multiple varieties this year. I'm really hoping I can get a few that are over 12 inches long because that'd be really cool. Turns out the wasp is not gone. He's hanging out on the edge of the bed, so we're going to keep our distance. This is our radish bed. And for 2 months, these radishes should have been out at the beginning of April. They did not grow very well. I have thinned them a little bit. Even the ones that have been thinned very well, not doing too much, but I did notice the French dressing radish. We have one that's starting to bulb up. Now, it could be that this soil is just too heavy for them. That's entirely a possibility. Because again, 2 months for these types of radishes, they should have been gone a month ago. But it's fine. I don't need the space for anything else. And if I'm really too impatient, I can always pull them and plant something else. But again, I don't need the space, so I'll just leave them. Maybe thin a few more out to give them a little bit more room. So maybe it's the soil, maybe it's user error. Hopefully it's the soil. But some are starting to bulb up, so I have hope that we'll be able to get a few radishes out of here before the weather goes too crazy. Radishes don't like anything above 70 degrees, really. 75s are really pushing it. So now that our days are getting above that, and even into the 80s, they're going to start bolting, which means they're going to go to seed. So it's hit or miss. If they don't get me anything now, I will replant them again in the fall. I might plant something else just to try to break up the soil, though. I don't think I really show you much in the way of our fruit. So here is one of our blueberry bushes. We have not planted it yet, but it's surviving. I do need to prune a few of the dead tips off, but other than that, it's doing really well. And at this point, I want to focus on growing. I do not know if it has flowered. I'm not too concerned about that, though. And this poor blueberry bush right here. I have had this in this pot since 2017 and have been meaning to plant it every single year and have not done so. And this thing's still alive. It's even trying to flower, so we might get a little bit of fruit out of it, which would be awesome. So I'm going to attempt to plant it this year, as I say every year. Hopefully I actually do get around to it, so it can give us some blueberries and get bigger, because this thing, I have squashed so much of its potential and I feel kind of bad. So hopefully it'll get some space, it'll be able to spread out its roots and grow huge, because I'm excited to show you a few other things that have been growing a little crazy in the garden a little later in the video. Speaking of going crazy, here's our strawberry bed. This is one of two. We have the 3-tiered ones. Oh my goodness, we did lose quite a few, but we still have so many left. And we have quite a few runners that even grew outside of the bed on the opposite side of this one right here. So we're going to be digging those up and replacing any bare spots that we have. They're flowering like crazy. You can see the little white and yellow flowers. So we're hopefully going to get a lot of strawberries. I'm going to fertilize these really well. Pull back the nets, get all the dead things out, prune them up really nicely. Clip the runners from the mother plants so that they have enough energy. I really want strawberries. They're so sweet. They're so good. I remember a few years ago, my mom was wondering why our strawberries weren't producing, quote unquote. Because anytime she came out here, there was never any strawberries, so she thought they were getting eaten or by a bug or just weren't forming right or whatever. We didn't have enough plants. I was eating them all. They never made it into the house. So now we have more plants than I can eat off of, so we can make sure everyone gets some. So here we have our sauce tomato bed, and this one really fared the worst of the frost. So right here we've got our super sauce tomatoes, and 2 of them made it, 1 did not, and that's fine. Next we have the Amish paste. It looks like 1 did actually make it. It's super tiny, so we'll see. And for all of my tomatoes that I really wanted a variety to be fully planted, so the 3 plants, I have planted extra seeds. Hopefully they'll grow a little bit faster, especially if these got stunted, so they might catch up. Next we have San Marzano, which I love making tomato sauce. I love tomato sauce, so this bed right here, I will definitely make sure is full of nice producing plants. And then we have our Roma tomatoes. Only 1 made it. We did replace the 2 on the edges. And we have a few extra just in case, because you can never have too many Roma tomato plants. You absolutely can, but no you can't. So hopefully these will produce pretty well. They did get a little cold stressed, which is okay. We'll make sure to take good care of them. Oh, I just noticed. This one right here is starting to flower. Look at that. So we should have tomatoes forming soon. They won't be ready for quite some time, but they'll be forming, which means it's growing. Which means we are 1 step closer to tomatoes. So I definitely need to come in here, fertilize everything, prune back any dead branches, and make sure everything gets planted up nice and healthy so it grows really well for us. So this next bed right here is our medium heat pepper bed, and it is currently filled with nothing but red cayenne peppers. Well, this tag says specifically hot cayenne peppers. These are a little bit darker red than the ones I grew from seed. Only 2 plants did not make it through the frost, which is absolutely impressive because peppers also do not like cold. They're more cold hardy than basil per se, but they're not cool weather crops at all. They are tropical plants. They love heat. So the fact that any survived makes me super happy. But usually I'll have multiple varieties of plants. I had some Peter peppers over here. They did not make it. They weren't doing well, so I didn't expect much. But this bed will be filled, the other half, with cayenne peppers. I have them inside. They're hardening off as well. So once they are ready to come out here, I'll plant them in the other half, and this bed will be filled with nothing but cayenne peppers. I can either sell them as is, make hot pepper flakes. I can do a whole bunch of stuff with this, so I'm really excited for the potential for this bed. So right here we have a flat garden, no raised beds for this section, so we can fit a few more plants in, but that also means that we need to keep some ground cover down, or else it turns out to look like that. We didn't get a chance to cover that section before we left, so I will probably have to go through and till it again. Not the end of the world, though it did just rain, so I'll have to wait a few days. But right here, these 4 rows are filled with nothing but Bachelor's buttons. We have 4 different varieties. We've got the Blue Boy, Black Boy, Tall Double something, and then Artistic Mix. So I'm really excited. These are going to be kind of my filler flowers. Also, they're super pretty, so I was excited to grow them. And some of them did not survive. I actually don't think that was a cold issue because Bachelor's buttons can handle a little bit of cold. Not sure about frost, but I mean, these are doing very well. But I'm seeing a lot of bug damage on some of them, like this one, for example. You can see on that leaf right there, it's being eaten down. So I'm going to have to come in here and spray with some neem oil and look up more specifically what pests affect Bachelor's buttons, because again, I'm completely new to flowers, so I'm not really sure. And we did come through and cut the grass, so we do need to clean up a little bit. You can see over here we've got grass all over the weed fabric, but better on the weed fabric than in the beds, because that is a pain to clean. Yeah, I'm really excited. These definitely took off when I was gone. While I was gone, I think maybe about 2 inches tall when I left, and now they're huge. And I know some of them have 2 plants in them. I'm gonna leave them. Hopefully they'll be okay. But I'm really excited to see how well these do. I've never grown them to flowering before. I started some last year, didn't have room for them, so I had to unfortunately put them on the chopping block. I'm really excited, especially for the blue and black ones, because the blues are your typical Bachelor's buttons or cornflowers, but black is a little bit different. And black flowers aren't, I mean blue flowers as well, they're not as common, so I'm really excited to see how they do. And then back here, we've got 2 rows of sunflowers. These are just mammoth sunflowers. I have more, I just didn't get a chance to plant them yet. I think I can fill up 2 more rows, but I can also fill in some of the holes in this one. I'm going to wait till a little bit drier weather when the lizards aren't out, because they are scurrying all over this weed fabric and it's freaking me out a little bit. But we have a few that didn't make it, a few that are a little tiny, and then a few with some bug damage like this one. So I'll probably come back and spray these with neem oil as well, just to keep them healthy. I really want to get ones, because these have the potential to grow up to 16 feet, I believe. So if I could get any that are 10 feet or taller, I will be so happy. I mean, I'll be happy if they're taller than me, to be fair. But goal is 10 feet or taller, so hopefully we can get that. So I think I will probably do 2 more rows of these. And then in this, so that'll take up some of this space. And then in this space right here that I still need to take care of, we're going to put our cosmos and zinnias, because that will help with our dahlias to make a nice full bouquets. And I think it would look really cool. I'm no professional flower arranger, but I just kind of throw things together and I'm like, this is pretty, I like it. So we'll take care of this, and then this entire section will be filled with flowers. So I'll be out here in the evenings when the bees aren't as active, because I'm not a huge fan of being around them. But I also don't want to disturb them, because they're important and I do want them in the garden. I just want them to do their jobs away from me. So yes, these are our sunflowers, and these definitely took off, because when I planted them, most of them only had their seed leaves, and this one right here has 2 sets of adult leaves. So it's getting there, and I think it's one of the bigger ones. It's one of the more advanced ones, I will say. So back here is one of the 4x4 Dahlia beds that I mentioned earlier. We got these from Tractor Supply. They're a little bit finicky to put together, but they're really nice, and they hold a lot of soil. So we've got 4 varieties in here, 3 tuber clumps each. This first one is tartan. Got a little tiny sprout back there. There we go. So we've got 3 of those right now. Then next to it we have, oh, that one's a tartan right there. We've got Boom Boom Yellow. We're still waiting for one to sprout. And you'll see some of them have had sprouts come up earlier and then died off because of the cold, but they're sprouting back up, so I'm super happy. Next we've got the white aster. The Boom Boom Yellow and the white aster, I believe, are more pom-pom varieties, so they're a little bit smaller. Was the tartan, and this next one, the Shiloh Noel, are dinner plate varieties, so they get huge, like 7 to 8 plus inches across. Well, I guess up to 8 inches across. Depending, you can get bigger ones. I've seen some huge ones, which can make them a little bit difficult to arrange with, but honestly, the bigger the flower, the better, in my opinion, because it makes them really cool. So I think of these 4, I'm most excited for tartan, because it's like a dark purple and white variety. It looks really cool. Then in this next bed, we have more dahlias. These I started inside, so they're a little bigger, so I should get flowers off of them sooner. We've got the Fubuki Maroon, which are these 2 in the back. Then next we have Crazy Love, so that's these next 2 right here. Then next we've got Arabian Night, which I have the one on the other side I thought was diseased. And I'll tell you why I'm not thinking that's the case. Because if you look right here, you can see that it has some dead stems, and then it's got a whole bunch of little ones. I don't think it's a disease. I think it's just it trying to live, because again, these are clumps, not tubers, like individual tubers. So they will throw out multiple eyes, and each eye can have multiple stems. So say it had 5 eyes and 2 stems came out of each, it'd have 10 stems. So that would look like it's a disease, but that would actually be healthy. And this is the other one. This actually did pretty well with the cold, and it's one of my tallest ones, so I'm pretty cool with that. The Arabian Night is one I grew last year. Oh my goodness, I actually got tired of picking them. I had so many flowers. And this last row right here, I've got Florel, which is a white dinner plate. I had it last year, did not get a chance to plant it. I was sad. Also, my cats broke some of them, so I was really sad. But I'm determined. I'm absolutely determined. Now this one, again, you have the multiple stem thing going on, but you can also see that some of them had died from the cold, so it's trying to replace those. And again, it doesn't look like disease, so I'm gonna let them go, and we'll see. If I start getting like an insane amount of stem sprouts coming up and they don't look super healthy, then I'll pull them. It's a little late because, again, they've been in the soil, it's rained and everything. So gal, however you want to say it, is a disease that can spread pretty quickly to your other tubers and other plants. So hopefully that's not the case. But again, the stems look healthy, they don't look crazy, and we'll see. So hopefully everything's good, but I'm so excited for the dahlias this year. I think last year I grew about 4 or 5 varieties. This year, tripled that. So hopefully everything does well. So that is the end of our raised beds. The rest of the things that we have are in ground and more of the fruit variety. So I don't believe I usually show these off, so I'm really excited to show you what we have going on. So I'm going to start with our apples. This is my dad's apple tree. This is a Red Delicious apple. Not personally one of my favorites. I like sweeter apples. They're about 7 feet tall. His is going absolutely crazy with the flowers. And if you look really closely, he's got apples on his already. That's insane. Especially considering that we had frosts, like killing frosts. He's got a few that are decent size too. This clump or cluster right here. So I'm hoping, these trees have been with us for 3 years now. It's their 3rd year, I believe. So we should be getting a good amount of fruit off of them. I'm really excited for that. So that is our Red Delicious right here. If we ignore, this was our old garden. It got overgrown with trees and stuff. Right here, we have another tree. This is brand new. It's its 1st year with us. It came in bare root. It looked like a stick. And now it has a whole bunch of leaves on it. So we're pretty excited about that. I've never grown them this way before, so it's kind of cool to see them come back to life. This is a Honeycrisp Apple. Oh, there we go. And I don't think we have any of them at the moment, so this is the first one. So yes, this is a Honeycrisp. Then behind the Honeycrisp Apple, I believe, is one of my mom's trees. It's still got a little bit of flowering action going on right there. But hers is mostly done flowering, and she has apples on hers as well. I believe this is a wine sap variety. She's got some apples right there. There. Okay, it will not focus. There? Nope. Okay, it's in front of you, I promise. But she's got a few apples. She has another cluster right here. There we go. So what you usually do with apples is once they get a little bit bigger and you can see which ones are thriving the most, you'll start to prune out some of the, or thin out some of the apples so that you get the really nice, big, juicy ones. All right, next we have my tree, which is a Fuji apple. There we go. And again, these are all about 7, 8 feet tall. I'm horrible with heights, so I shouldn't say. I have one tiny cluster of apples, I believe, right here. I cannot see because it's very backlit. I'm sorry. But they're there. Right there, in there. I don't know if you can see them. That's so far the only cluster I have found. My tree is not very covered yet. Oh, wait, there's one right here. I have like a single apple right there. I will take it. I haven't sprayed these trees yet, so that is definitely on the to-do list. But mine's got a few, more than a few, quite a few ants. Ooh, a lot of ants. Yeah, I definitely need to come spray these, so don't have to worry about diseased fruit or anything. I really want to get apples. We haven't gotten any yet. Right here we've got another wine sap. This one's also my mom's. She got 2 trees. The rest of us got 1. I don't know. I didn't look too particularly hard on this one. I'm not sure if there's any fruit on it. Maybe 1 or 2 clusters. Not quite sure. It has flowered though. So if it does have some, cool. If not, it's fine. Again, these are still younger trees, so we're not expecting like bushels of apples. Maybe like a handful. 5 would be nice per tree. And then last but not least, we've got Jay's tree. He has a pink lady tree. His is the tallest, probably way over 10. This is probably closer to like 15 feet. It's way up there. His tree is also a year older than the rest of ours. Ours came in at 2 years. His was 3 years old. I do not remember if I saw fruit on his tree this year. It did fruit last year, but we didn't get to collect any. But again, it's also very, very early in the season, so my ability to spot fruit is not great at the moment. I mean, I missed the fruit on my tree. I didn't even realize that 1 apple was there, so it could just be there. They could be way up there and I can't see them. That's a possibility. I did fertilize them. I'll come and fertilize them again a little bit later in the season. I'll prune off some of the branches that are growing way down here because they don't need them. And probably mulch them in. I'm sure the grass is helping a little bit. But they got some nice water because it rained super hard yesterday, so I'm sure they really appreciate that. And then last, but certainly not least, we have our blueberries and blackberries. I will admit, I did not realize just how loaded this plant is. Look at all those blueberries. That is insane. I could make a pie out of that. Or at least some tarts, definitely. That's insane. I really hope all of those fully formed fruits. I will definitely come out here and spray these. I want these. I will cover these up. These will be my new prized possession. But yes, that is insane. I'm super excited. I did not know how many were on there. So that is 1 blueberry bush. We've got 1 right next to it. My mom accidentally desecrated this one with the weed whacker, so it has less fruit, but it's still doing really well. It's happy. It's thriving. I will take it. And there's still quite a few blueberries on there for it being so sad. Got some right there and a few right there. Then next to that we have a blackberry vine bush, whatever you'd like to call that. It's just about as tall as me. I pruned it back. Come on. There we go. Pruned it back earlier this season. It is covered with flower pod buds things. And some of them, I just noticed, are starting to open. Of course, I won't focus on them, but you can see that pink right there. There we go. That's awesome. So this blackberry bush last year did give us quite a bit of fruit, but not as much as its friend 2 plants over. Next to this blackberry, we've got 1 more blueberry. I don't actually see any flowers or anything on this one, which is fine. I mean, not everything's gonna... Oh, wait. There's a little bit of fruit right in there. But not everything's gonna give you absolute bumper crops every year, and that's okay. Then, the star of the show. Definitely not least, this monster. I mean, this thing... I mean, it's taller than me still, and I pruned this year. This is insane. Everything has at least 3 to 4 to 5 flower buds on it. This gave us more blackberries than we knew what to do with last year, and it wasn't this size at this point last year. It was not even as big as the first blackberry bush I showed you. This is insane. I mean, the canes. Look at the canes. They're easily almost 2 inches across. But this, I am so excited. I will be fertilizing this. I will be taking care of this like it is my child. Because this is insane. I mean, if all of these actually set fruit, we're going to have more blackberries than we know what to do with. I don't even think... I'd have to get more jars and make a whole bunch of jelly and give all that away. There's so much. It's insane. I mean, this plant went crazy last year, and I didn't really know how far to prune it back. This is tame compared to last year. I mean, it was growing all over this bed and in the walkways, and it was easily over 10 feet, some of the vines. It was crazy, but... As you can see, I'm very excited for this one. But I believe that is all we have going on right now. I hope you enjoyed the garden tour. We'll definitely be posting some pictures on Instagram. And we might actually post a little highlights video of some of the pictures we got from Living with the Land, which is a write about hydroponics in Disney World and the effects of fertilizers on the land and how landscapes have formed and all that fun stuff. So that's one of my favorite rides because I love plants. So might do a little highlight reel and post that on YouTube. I might post some pictures on Instagram. We're on Instagram at AJ Farms, so if you want to see some updates and some pictures and everything, we update that a little bit more regularly, especially now that we're back. So definitely follow us over there. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.